So, I want to talk a little bit about the future, and even though I said it's not right for all businesses, we can see some changes already starting to happen in the web. There's a great book by a guy called Eric Qualman called Socialnomics that I actually interviewed the guy on podcast interviews, so you can hear the interview with him. And basically what he talked about was this idea that the web is changing and what is more relevant to you as a user. Let's say you're on Google and you're searching for accommodation in Europe because you're about to go on a holiday. What's more important to you? Is it a robot that serves up a result based on an algorithm, Google, or would it be if a friend went and travelled to Europe and they said, oh, here's where I stayed, here's where I recommend. So obviously the latter is going to be more important to you because you trust the word of your friend more. Like that is worth so much more. And that seems to be the way the web is starting to change. And we saw Facebook, they came out with the like button, and there's a lot of speculation as to whether or not Facebook would be able to use that data to create their own search engine. And what's happening now, they ended up doing that deal with Bing that I talked about. So we're starting to see already when you like a page, it is starting to influence the search results. It's not happening in Google, but Google's starting to take into account things like Twitter and Facebook and things like that. It's just starting now. So we mark my words, this is the way that the web's going. So what you can do to build up your social community, build up your expert status, become an expert in your niche, will pay dividends long into the future. So we want to make sure that we really start to get on Facebook, build up that community. We start to use the like button. We make sure that we get Twitter into our business as well. I think Google, when they found out, like Facebook started to give them a little bit of the spooks. It was about 18 months ago, I think, they went together and they got 50 of the biggest heads of Google to come together and talk about the future of the web and what were the risks that Google was facing. And Google said pretty much it's Facebook and it's the way the social web is going, and that's going to be the next significant change because that's what's most relevant. Having search results tailored to you and your situation. It's a little bit Big Brother, someone watching over you, but really that's ultimately what you want anyway, not the Big Brother part, but having your marketing that's very much tailored to you. And you see that when I talked about Amazon earlier today, this idea when you get an email from Amazon and they'll tailor that marketing to you and they'll say, here are some other books that you might be interested in reading based on previous searches. That's the way that everything's heading together. So Google had this meeting, they came up with a project, they named it the Emerald Sea. That was kind of like their top secret project name. It evolved. Google's tried to come into social media. They had a thing they call Buzz, which kind of died quite quickly. They also had Google Wave. There's a few attempts. Now, the last most recent shot, which has just happened now, like in the last couple of weeks, is Google Plus. And this is Google betting the farm on their social media. Now, they've created, what they're trying to make is a Facebook killer. At the moment, it's only been out for a couple of weeks. They had 10 million people sign up in 2 weeks. It seems to be getting a bit of ground. I don't know whether or not Google Plus is going to take off or not. That's here nor there. The real key takeaway here is Google, with some of the smartest minds in the world working for them, have said, this is where things are going. We need to get on this now, or Facebook is going to come and kill us. Just, you might think, who could knock Google off? A few years ago, there was a thing called MySpace that you might have heard about, and that was one of the first real well-known social media sites. And everybody thought, MySpace is not going anywhere. Almost overnight, Facebook came out and just absolutely crushed them. And I think Google's a bit worried that there's the potential there for this data Facebook's collecting to just make them a more attractive destination for the user because it's more relevant to them. So they came out with this Google Plus thing. It's still only in the early days, but we know that it's already starting to influence search results, and we're starting to see social media filtering through to the search results. They came out with a thing they called authorship. This was announced like 2 days ago. This is kind of like super cutting edge stuff, where now you can assign an author to certain posts. So you'll be searching in Google and a head will appear next to the result. So you'll see the result and then you'll see a little head of the author just next to it. And if you can imagine the way that that would influence search results, because the eye is attracted to the photo, they'll see the photo, it's going to make it much more interesting to create, like a much more interesting user experience, because someone in position 3 potentially they might get more clicks than in position number 1 because they've got a photo next to it, the eye goes there, they end up clicking there, and then that photo is linked to their Google Plus account. So that way you see the photo and then you can click on their little profile to find out more about them. So what's Google doing? It's almost like they're giving special preference or weighting to someone who's on Google Plus. So I can imagine more and more businesses will want to jump onto Google Plus, because if they don't, their competition will, and even if their competition's in position number 3, they've got a head next to it and it's going to increase the click-through rate. And they're also integrating, the plan is to integrate this into everything that Google does. So in Gmail, you'll start to see in the top right-hand corner, they just announced this as well, you've got a little app that appears in the right-hand corner where now you'll be writing an email to someone, it'll recognise who you're writing the email to, and then it'll pull up their little Google Plus account and you can find out what your friend's doing. So you'll see the status update. Because Google Plus, it's very similar to Facebook. Like when you look at it, it looks like Facebook. You can upload photos, there's activity feeds, there's a few changes that they've made. You can start to add friends into circles now. So instead of having all of your friends on one in your one Facebook account, Google Plus has this thing they call circles, where you might put all of your friends into one, you might put acquaintances into another, you might put business associates into another, so that way you can group who sees what. So that way you might have gone out and had a really big night on the weekend with some buddies, and you don't want your mum to see the photo of you lying in your own vomit in a gutter somewhere. So you'd upload that just into this circle, and then your mum can't see that one. So that's the way that the circles are going. And they've brought a few different other elements like that into it. But I think the real takeaway here is that that's the way that the web's going. So you want to make sure that you start to engage in this because it's not going anywhere and it's already starting to affect